Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Kyoto by Night. This evening, we find ourselves after the twilight hours. The sun has set in the west. We find ourselves placed at the Goryo Shrine in the area between the Hingyokai territory and the Kueijin territory of the north. Our dear Kitsune, Kamiko Hakari, um, is in the process of visiting the various Inari shrines throughout Kyoto in hopes of gaining favor with the spirits. A very specific spirit in her case. She walks in as the lanterns and the now artificial accent lights light up the shrine for nighttime visitors, still within the acceptable tourist hours in Kyoto. We start the scene with her walking up towards the shrine itself, facing the large tiger statues.
And Kamiko will make her way through the shrine towards where the shrine to Inari might be found within this temple. With handbag on over one arm and a small box of tasty rice treats in her hands, ready to put on the base of the shrine.
Alright. Should go ahead and do so, I suppose.
Yep. She'll place them at the base of the shrine, and she'll bow 3 times, and she'll ring the little bell.
Once she's made her way out of the shrine and sort of back towards the street, is the moment when a young man sort of rather abruptly just brushes right into her. And, yeah, let's make this interesting. Let's see if he can manage to manipulation larceny. So you can roll a perception and alertness there.
I win.
That is a very convincing I win. So you did. Oh yeah, you did do pretty well. Okay. This.
Well, I can
I'm not
see
gonna
your
call it.
dice.
Yeah. I wouldn't call this guy necessarily young. Like he's probably late teens, early 20s. But you catch him with his hand directly in your handbag, so to speak, attempting to.
And she will grip his wrist.
And he'll pause and sort of look at her with a slight smile. Simasen. This is a bit awkward.
Whatever you have hold of, please release it.
And he is going to attempt to do a dex brawl to try and break away from you. And actually does fairly well for himself. So he's actually going to give Kamiko kind of a really abrupt shove as he's trying to hold everything in one hand. using the other to try and shove her, almost like a shoulder check directly to her chest. Very, very uncouth. Fairly brazen.
I think I'm going to make a seduction roll. Because I have
That is
the
not
skill.
the roll I expected.
Pardon?
That is not the counter I expected from you, so go for it.
Hey, what's the point in having the gift if you don't use it?
Oh man, go for it. This is great.
I just need to look up what the thing was, because let's face it,
Is it a trait or is it a gift?
it's a gift.
Okay.
The gift is it's a Homid gift, I think. Yeah, it's a Homid gift. Or KbN, rather.
Never had it with a shape changer. He just shoved you. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna seduce him.
Well, no, I'm going to use seduction to make them feel guilty about taking my stuff.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully. Well, she's not trying to stop him from running away. She's just asking him to let go of her stuff. Which I think is fairly reasonable. I've caught you with your hand in my bag. Just let go of my stuff. Then you run away and I'm less likely to bother chasing you.
Well, he did just try and shove you, so... But yes, we'll see how guilty he feels, depending on your roll.
Yes, when I find the
You're
thing
using
to tell me what to roll.
persuasion, so...
No, it's seduction. Which is the Kitsune... Well, Kitsune can learn persuasion, or they can learn seduction, which is a variation on it. And I don't have persuasion, so...
Where are you getting this seduction one from?
It's in the Changing Breeds book. I'm looking for it now.
Is it a Hingyokai or a...
Kojin. There we go. Kojin gifts. Persuasion level 1 is the Helmet, as the Helmet gift. Seduction level 1. Fox with this gift can cause humans to fall in love with her. A cloud or rain spirit teaches it. So you spend 1 gnosis point and roll Charisma Subterfuge, difficulty 6, against the victim's willpower, difficulty 7. It's contested roll for their willpower, difficulty 7.
Okay. He has got, I will say 6 willpower.
So... Charisma Subterfuge. That seems like a bit of a bad plan. Oh well. Only the 1 success. Probably should have gone with the persuasion one, but it just seemed to fit her until I actually read the way that it works. Oh well.
He botched, so... So he just kind of stops for a moment and looks at her, and maybe goes a little rosy in the cheeks as he's sort of, that shove becomes more of a rather abrupt embrace. And he sort of smiles. Hello.
Hello. I believe you still have something of mine.
Oh, yes, this. I just wanted to see what you were, how much money you had, because I wanted to see if I could treat you out to a lovely evening well beyond your means.
Yeah, she's not falling for it, but she'll just smile and nod and hold her hands out for the purse to be returned.
And he'll hand the coin pouch back.
thank you. And she'll tuck it back in her bag.
May I interest you in a bottle of sake?
I tend to avoid liquor, but tea is most enjoyable.
Would you care for a bit of tea then? He says, still looking rather awkward but awestruck and somewhat, still has one arm around her waist, by the way.
She will step slightly further away, but will nod with a small bow and gesture for him to lead the way. Because why not? After trying to pinch her pocket, the least he can do is buy her a cup of tea.
Okay. All right.
This is not where you planned the scene on going, was
I
it?
had, if you could hear to my voice, I'm somewhat at a loss of what to do. But I got this.
Right.
I got
So,
this.
so I take it this is not the little Sue the Devil Tiger.
No, 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 no. This is somebody else.
Great.
This is just an NPC I just decided to throw in there as a segue, but anyways, we'll continue on.
So, after a cup of tea, Kamiko's
Actually,
off on her way
actually, on the way to the tea is when this is going to get interesting.
Okay.
Because as he sort of leading you towards, let's see, we're going to see where he leads. We're going to see he tries to lead you into a dark alley or a tea house. Okay, so it doesn't seem quite clear whether he's going towards a tea house or not. He's just kind of walking in a general direction. So he probably doesn't even know what he's doing at this point. So he's walking along, and as he does, as he's walking,
Probably
you
trying to
see
remember if he knows if there is a place that sells something non-alcoholic.
probably like tea house, tea house. I've never been to a tea house. I only go to bars. It's terrible. She's gonna think so much less of me. And when he's kind of mumbling that to himself is when he kind of abruptly walks into somebody else. A young, youthful-looking woman with a younger man, maybe in his 20s, and another woman. They don't seem to be clad so well. They seem to be clad similar to him. And the one that's kind of in the front that he's kind of walked into, she has her arms up over sort of like a metal rod, so to speak. Maybe a baseball bat. It really is kind of hard to tell, but she looks at him. Oh, Karu, look at you. I thought I had told you, warned you about this, and you can see that the young man sort of sheepishly backs away from her. I told you over and over that this little petty pickpocketing, it's got to stop. It's unbecoming of you. And he again begins to cower and kind of trembles, looking at her. And when she sort of lowers her arms, you can hear the kind of the metal clank of the bat on the ground as she looks at him and is kind of tapping it. You know, it would be sporting if maybe you ran. You know the drill. And Karu sort of trips over himself trying to run away from this person and runs past the temptress known as Kamiko.
Kamiko will give a small bow to this individual. This seems like a matter between yourselves.
No. It's no trouble, really. He's one of those wayward children that likes to pretend that he's some sort of fancies himself a romantic criminal. A romantic criminal does not steal from unarmed women, she says as she rests the bat up on her shoulders and takes a few steps towards Kamiko just to see if indeed the young man is completely run off. And she'll look back to the two people flanking her. Find him. Send a little bit of a message this time. He got off easy last time. And the two individuals sort of nod and make their way off, following after this common pickpocket. And the young woman will turn to look at Kamiko. I don't suppose he did any undue harm to you, did he?
No, I was able to retrieve my belongings. But he certainly shouldn't prey on people outside shrines.
Yes, that's going to cost him. It's going to cost him quite a bit. And she looks at Kamiko and just kind of bows her head a little bit. Fu, by the way.
Kamiko Hikari, and she will return the head bow.
Hikari-san. What brings you to a temple this late at night? You're certainly not a tourist.
Well, my duties with my family tend to keep me busy during the early hours of the afternoon and evening.
I see. What do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
My family runs an okiya.
She'll actually kind of nod with a rather impressed look. You know, it's so rare that I get to talk to anyone who's part of an honest profession. So, an okiya, does that mean that you yourself?
I have received the training, but I have had something of another calling to tend to.
Really? Might I inquire, or would that be too bold?
She'll give a small smile. I am visiting all of the shrines of Inari in the city, at least all of those that I can easily access. Consider it something of a religious quest. Pilgrimage of sorts.
I see. She seems to be a bit intrigued at this person, Kamiko, and she sort of goes to sit on one of the large rocks that kind of border the temple's garden, so to speak, adjacent to the street. And she sort of just sets the bat down by her legs. Any particular reason that you're going through all of these rites, or visiting these shrines, I mean?
Well, there are many reasons for supplication, but at the root of them all is to seek the favour of the individual to whom you pay the pilgrimage.
Seems to be. Oh, go ahead.
Might I ask, if it is not too bold a question, why it is that you engage in these practices if you do not find them to your taste?
Hmm. Lack of a better option, I suppose.
There is a mild look of surprise. Why do you feel you lack the options?
Hmm. It's a deeply rooted sort of involvement.
I see.
The way, the
I
way
do
I
not mean
came
to
up.
pry.
No, it's quite alright. It's quite alright. It was the way I was brought up. I was given options to either starve and live in a broken home or find a suitable foster family that took me in, or that would take me in. It just so happens that they happen to be involved in these sort of activities.
And Kamiko will nod. You and Little Fu may notice there is no sign of judgment, more curiosity that if she doesn't like this, why she doesn't find something else to do.
Yes. And actually, going to spend a point of Yang Chi, so we have a little bit of sensory off right now. I'm going to go for Life Sight, and you can actually roll Perception Primal Urge difficulty 9, I believe.
Do I get the bonus for detail orientated? Oh, and if it's to do with that's only gifts. I was going to say chi sense gives me a bonus as
Oh
well.
no, Chi Sense would definitely apply to this.
Because chi sense, I think actually the player permanently adds one die to any gift or right, unfortunately, which inspects or alters the environment.
Oh, when you're using a gift.
Yep, gift or right.
Okay.
But this is neither. So, though I probably should have added it on the seduction roll. Anyway.
I'm going to spend a willpower point as well, because this is a difficulty 9 for me.
Okay, so it's perception and primal urge.
Yep, I got 2 successes. So
What's the
actually,
difficulty?
it would be difficulty 9, as I don't know, you've probably never...
Okay, so one success then.
Oh, okay. You can definitely sense sort of a spark of something similar to what you know as rage that kind of crackles about her. You can't really see it on the surface because you didn't spend nearly enough of it to do it, but you could definitely get a taste of it. She, on the other hand, is able to sort of get a feeling that there's just something a little more to you. Like you definitely would be yang imbalanced to her because you have rage. Or actually, what's your rage versus your gnosis?
My gnosis is 5. My rage is 2.
Okay. You definitely would come off more yang than the normal person, but she'll
But
look at you.
probably less yang than the usual shifter.
Yes, but definitely more than the average human being. Although you probably seem to be, you also have a great deal of yin about you as well, from the spiritual energy of gnosis. So,
I wouldn't have thought gnosis would be yin. I
if for
don't know.
some reason that's how they list it.
Yeah, weird. But yeah, 5
But
gnosis
she,
and
yeah,
2 rage, so.
Fu will sort of stand up and she instantly kind of takes a deep breath of Kamiko's presence, almost just like breathing her in a manner of speaking. And you can definitely sense that there's something odd about her.
To be fair, there's something odd about a lot of people Kamiko meets.
True. And a sort of a sly and, I dare say, fox-faced smile comes over Fu's expression as she comes up close to Komiko and just breathes in almost like she's sniffing Komiko's neck at that point. Now, there is something definitely about you that I find very appealing.
And Kimiko will actually stay rather still, but her eyes will be a bit more icy because she is not fond of people invading her personal space.
Nobody really would be.
Especially not someone that's been raised in an Okia with very traditional Japanese ways.
Yes. And Fu will bring her eyes up to Komiko's.
So yeah, she looks a little bit disapproving about the closeness.
And it seems that Fu has really no concept of personal boundaries, at least at the moment. Because she has a certain look in her eyes, maybe mischievous, slightly, for lack of a better term, because I'm still not on a full set of coffee for this morning. There looks be a bit of a slight hunger in her eyes. You're not human, are you?
Neither are you.
Very astute.
To be entirely fair, she couldn't have been absolutely certain that she wasn't human until the other girl said, "You're not human."
Sure.
And she's like, "Yep, that was definitely her trying to sniff out what I am."
And just two fingers kind of start to work their way up the edges of your kimono, sort of like from the obi. I'm assuming that you're wearing a kimono.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's kind of working up that trail end of like the overlap with two fingers, very, very lightly. It's not like she's trying to push in or pull away. She's just sort of walking her fingers up almost like a spider. As she smirks. So then, what exactly are you?
When introducing oneself, it is generally considered polite to introduce yourself before expecting the introduction of the other.
True, that is definitely part of etiquette, but you might have gathered that I'm not exactly the most graceful person here in Kyoto. But if you absolutely insist, and she kind of raises her brow almost if she's asking a question.
Kimiko is giving something of a neutral expression.
The long stare-off goes for just a few seconds, which probably seems a lot longer between the two of them, before she finally smiles. They call me Little Fu, short for Fumiko. I'm a member of a very specific group that resides in the north.
I see.
And I have a very narrow list of ideas of what you might be, but to hear it from those very soft-looking lips would be rather intriguing.
I am Kitsune, a child of the Emerald Mother.
Hmm. Very interesting. I don't get to interact with your kind much. We seem to both keep to ourselves. But color me curious about you. Which is a bit more true than you know, with a certain flaw.
Yeah, Kimiko has curiosity as well. That's why she hasn't left already.
Ah. So, Kitsune, a fox from down south, makes her way up here into neutral territory.
To visit the shrine of Inari.
Trying to gain favor with the spirits, are you?
It seldom hurts, especially one which is so closely associated with my kind.
I could say that's never been a strong suit of mine. They tend to find me a bit abrasive. And I'm pretty sure that Kimiko has no idea what she means. Is at this point, Fu is sort of working the edge of her kimono, sort of straightening it and then unstraightening it a little bit every now and then, sort of off and on, just sort of playing with the material.
As soon as Fu starts to actually do anything involving undoing the kimono, we'll stop her. But before that point, she's doing her very utmost to ignore it, to get on with this conversation.
And what exactly does Kimiko do? Or Kamiko, I'm sorry.
Um, Out of character, or
In character.
in character, what she does is, well, she works at the Okia.
Mm-hmm. No, I
She,
meant like, what does she do to stop Fu from fidgeting with the material of her kimono?
well, if she's just fidgeting with it, it's okay. It's when she starts to try and target it more than.
She's sort of basically kind of like, adjusting it up and then down and sort of just playing around with the fringe of it.
Yeah, as long as she's playing with the fringe, it's not a problem. It's when she
She's not
starts.
like trying to open up her kimono or anything like that. She's just kind of fidgeting.
Yep. Well, that's okay. Is if she starts trying to do something, then Kamiko would gently take her by the wrist and move her hands away.
Right.
But that it hasn't reached that point yet, I think.
So, what is it like existing down there south? I've never made the trek.
Well, as I reside in Gion, it is slightly different to the majority of Kyoto. Rather more traditional than many streets.
I would expect no less, I suppose, or I shouldn't anyway. Fu sort of licks her lips as she's just inspecting sort of all of Kamiko's mannerisms, the structure of like her neck and face. Just very intrigued by this. She's never really had a face-to-face with a shapeshifter before, so she's very curious and can't help but to inspect, and actually begins to start a circle around Kamiko, sort of removing her hands from the kimono and just taking very, very light steps, but deliberate. But at that point, as she starts actually circling, she actually puts her arms behind her back and kind of clasps her hands together, almost as a sign of good faith.
Kamiko still has her hands resting quite calmly, and she doesn't move. She just remains standing where she is as Little Fu does a circuit.
What's it like in the Imperial Garden?
It is beautiful.
So I hear. I never got to go there before, and I'm certainly going to expect that I would not be allowed to go there now.
She'll give a small nod. But then there are surely places among your people that I would be unable to go and that are carefully maintained.
True. We all share a certain affinity to our little slices of the city. I don't tend to go up that far. It's quite stuffy up there. The etiquette rules are well beyond the scope of my good graces.
Kamiko will give a small smile and nod at that comment.
Don't mistake me at all, Ikai-san. I attempt, when I can, to be as graceful as you, but it doesn't quite work out.
It involves a great deal of practice. But then I hear that your kind has the time for such practice. As do many of mine.
I don't know much about your kind, but it seems that we have a very basic stereotype out there, as far as we're concerned. How much do you really know about us, if you don't mind me asking?
Not a great deal. Merely that you were dead, and you are not dead now. That you keep to the north, and that, as far as I know, there is no reason why you should not remain undead.
Seems to be almost a sly but genuine smile. But as Kimiko or Kamiko says, that you were dead, she very tentatively reaches out for Kamiko's hand.
And Kamiko will allow Little Fu to take her hand.
And Little Fu just sort of smirks and steps forward again, not necessarily directly invading Kamiko's space, but she'll take the hand and guide it up to her own neck, and she'll be able to note that that Fu's fingers are actually not at all well maintained, so to speak. Her fingers are somewhat rough. Probably not anywhere in the scope of maintained like Kamiko's are. But she takes the hand and rests it on her own neck, so to speak. On taking Kamiko's hand and putting it on Fu's neck, where she can actually feel the semblance of a heartbeat. And the warmth of her skin, actually.
And Kamiko will rest her fingers there for a few moments.
Dead is a very relative term when it comes to my kind.
And she will nod. And she will slowly bring her hand back.
And Fu will lick her lips slightly, kind of wetting them. Would you mind if I made a small request?
You are free to request, but as I do not know what it is you will ask, I cannot give you an answer ahead of time.
Very prudent, by the way. It has been a slight curiosity of mine to know what it is that a shapeshifter tastes like.
I'm afraid that my particular kind of shapeshifter does not heal as quickly as the others. And I have many duties to perform tomorrow. But I can certainly see about arranging something.
Oh, no. That would not suit me. I sort of live in the moment, and I somehow have the feeling that if you were to make this request to one of your fellows, they may not take it as well as you have.
Requests that are made politely, and when the refusal is accepted with grace, do no shame to either the asker or the person asked.
All the same, though, if you're not willing, that request will simply come to life and burn out here.
And Kamiko will give a small nod.
It's a shame, though. You do seem to have an abundance of liveliness to you.
Well, have you ever seen Fox Kits playing?
I have on television, and it was. I did rather enjoy the nature channels growing up. I suppose in my own way I'm somewhat closer to some aspects of our natural world. Likely not as close as you are, though, as you seem to be able to mingle in it better than we can.
She will give a nod. All things were created to fulfill their part in the grand scheme of things.
Do you enjoy conversations on philosophy?
On occasion, yes.
Would I be overstepping my bounds that if perhaps in 2 nights' time you would join me at a tea house here in this neutral territory?
That seems perfectly agreeable, assuming, of course, that there are no pressing and immediate duties which might call me away. As I said, I gave up my role as Geiko to be more available to my nature. There are many things that one must sacrifice in the service of the Emerald Mother. But provided that nothing untoward arises, that would be quite enjoyable.
And Fu will simply smirk as she reaches into her pocket and retrieves a slight sliver of paper and fishes out a very small, very short pencil and writes down a number on it and then hands it over.
And Kamiko will bow as she takes it and puts it into her handbag and will produce one of the cards for the Okia.
Fu will actually kind of raise her brows and again look impressed. Perhaps not only at the fact that the card is more than likely rather nice. But also the fact that this Kitsune is willing to share this information. She didn't expect as much as she is getting.
Wow, considering quite how far south of here it is, she feels relatively secure.
Yes, it's true. That does work, and I'm going to have to roll something here because curiosity. Oh god, it's just a wits roll. I am boned. And that is a failure if I've ever seen one.
Why on earth does she have only one wit?
Because she's fairly intelligent, fairly perceptive, not too quick on the draw. She has other ways for making up for it, don't worry. Fu's eyes sort of take on an odd look about them as she kind of smiles somewhat uncomfortably as she seems to be working something out in her head. You can make a perception and empathy roll if you want to see if you can get what's coming, but at best it will be mischievous.
My perception is detail orientated. Don't know if that's any help or not.
Don't think in this particular instance.
Probably not, but you know.
One success, okay. Gotta just go for a bit of manipulation. I guess it would be subterfuge on this one. And then she is going to hightail it. So that's 5 dice. And a difficulty of 4. Only one success. How many did you get?
In what?
Your perception. Okay, so yeah, you win. Defender wins. You can tell that she is up to something, and it seems as though it definitely comes off as harmless. What she looks like she's about ready to do. Kind of see her tensing up a little bit. But she's actually going to come up very quickly and sort of just. This is going to be bad. She puts a very wet kiss on Kamiko's neck and hops back very quickly.
Right. Yeah. I think Kimiko's hands will be raising up to push her back, but she'll probably have chance just to touch the skin, and then she's being pushed away.
Well, we can roll for it.
Well, you said that she was aiming to hop back, so it's probably just like she's getting pushed back at the same time as hopping back, because she was aiming for the mischievous rather than actually trying to bite.
Oh yeah, she's definitely got that grin on her face. It almost seems childish.
Yeah.
But let's
But what
make a
I'm saying
contested roll.
is,
I want to see how this goes. I want to see if she gets planted firmly on her rear end, which she's no less deserving of at the moment.
right, so Dex Brawl.
Dex brawl, just a contested Dex brawl roll.
Oh, that's not a good roll.
Mine is halfway decent. 2 successes. How many did you get?
It's not a good roll. Difficulty 6, presumably.
Yes.
That's a fail.
Okay. So when her hands come up, considering you are a shapeshifter and probably, fancy yourself somewhat stronger than the average.
No, she thinks she's about average when it comes to strength.
Okay.
She's a kitsune, not a hacken.
Okay, so maybe she thinks that she's quick on her feet. I don't know.
Yes.
But when your hands come up, they actually do manage to stop her. But you kind of get her in the stomach, more or less, because she actually came up off her feet to do this, sort of in a slight hop, so she could get back down quickly. And you find that she's actually fairly limber as she comes over and manages to get you square on the neck. And I'm just gonna roll a fate dice to see. Nah, she might even leave something of a hickey on your neck.
A hickey? I would have thought it would be lipstick, but okay.
Granted, you know what a hickey is. I don't know if that's just
Pardon?
an American. Do you know what a hickey is? I don't know if that's an American.
Yes. It's
Oh,
a love bite. It's a
yes.
bruise that's caused by kissing or suction.
Yeah. So she kind of does that and hops back with a slight chuckle. And you're
Smashing
pretty.
damage kiss.
But yeah, she comes back and she kind of lands on her feet with a slight spring and a very childish snicker. And literally a glint of. It looks like she's actually having quite a bit of fun. And innocent fun at that.
And there's a bit of tension in Kamika's shoulders, but it relaxes when she realizes that the weird thing was not actually trying to bite her.
And she'll
But
kind
little
of.
Sue can probably tell that that concern did pop through Kamiko's head.
I half expected to be thrown very far and very quickly across the street. Or at least on my backside. I'm surprised, Hikari-san.
Hikari will not actually comment at that. She'll just give Little Fu a blank look as if to say, and I'm responsible for what you expected.
And Fu will just sort of smirk and rub the back of her neck, seeing that this was a bit less fanfare than she expected. She kind of half expected to get a rise out of the kitsune, and seeing that was a fruitless endeavor, she seems slightly disappointed.
I'm sure there is variations in your kind other than levels of being dead or not. There are many different kinds among my kind as well. And some are more volatile than others.
But then again, perhaps you are the kind that likes to plot simple revenge. I'll be made to look very foolish in nights coming.
And Kamiko will just give a small smile. Perhaps.
And with this,
She's
you
not
see
actually plotting revenge, but just letting her think that there might be revenge seems like an amusing kind of revenge in itself.
Fu seems to light up at this. It's just exactly what she was sort of aiming for in her head, whether or not that actually comes true or not. But at this, Kamiko can probably surmise that Fu can be fairly playful. but she'll take a few steps back and offer a very westernized bow, almost like a curtsy.
And Kimiko will bow in return, but more of a Japanese bow.
Well then, I look forward to tea.
It should be most interesting.
And I'm going to make a quick perception and alertness roll. Real quick, just to see if I can see something. Wow. Yeah.
What are you trying to see?
The mark left.
Ah.
Because I don't know if Kimiko realizes that she has it or not. And Fu will kind of rub her own neck in the same spot where if Kamiko had done the same to her, where she would have gotten to. And I hope to see if that's still there in a few nights' time. And there's just kind of this big, like she's kind of biting her lip to keep from grinning or laughing too much.
And Kimiko is very carefully not reacting.
And with that, Fu will sort of take a few backward steps, backpedaling with a certain degree of athletic grace before finally sort of just running off, scampering off with a slight spring in her step as though she may have found a new playmate.
And Kimiko will make her way down the street and once she is fairly sure that she is somewhere secure and away from prying eyes, preferably toilet of some kind, she will check and cover up the mark on her neck. Because she does carry makeup.
Yes. No reaction, nothing.
Just because she's thinking stuff doesn't mean it has to show on her face.
Dang, nabbit. Alright. And I think there we can end our scene.